2020 was a record year for home sales in Canada. Over 500,000 residential properties were sold. So why are we talking about 2020? Well, if you were one of those home buyers and you had a 5-year fixed rate, you're probably due for a mortgage renewal. Interest rates are a lot higher than they were in 2020. So what does that mean for your monthly payment? Mortgage broker Mary Sialtsis is here with everything you need to know before renewing. Mary, thank you. I am one of these people, I was just telling you, that had to renew this year. And it is a nerve-wracking time because borrowers in 2020, rates have doubled since then. And you were telling me that you're getting a very common question when people are calling you. What are they asking you?
A lot of my clients are assuming that now that the interest rates have doubled, that their payment's going to double. And they're really feeling that they're not going to be able to afford their homes. In fact, that's not the case.
That's not the case at all.
That is not the case at all. So in the 5 years since you've had your mortgage, you've paid down a large portion of the balance. And even though the interest rates have doubled, the payment is only going to go up maybe $400 to $500 a month. It's still an increase, and some people may not be able to manage that. But it's still...
But it's not a double.
It's definitely not double.
I think it just goes to the fact, and we were saying this off camera, that so many people are living within a really tight budget. Life is very expensive right now. That $400 increase may be beyond your means. So let's talk about that. If you cannot afford an increase like that, how can you lower monthly payments despite these high interest rates?
So one of the things that you can do is you can look at increasing your amortization. If you had started off at a 25-year amortization, you'd now be at 20 years. You can look at bumping it back up to 25 years, and that'll bring down the amount that you would see an increase of monthly. And if that's still not manageable, you can look at refinancing and going up to a 30-year amortization. So it will take it beyond what you started with, but if you're in a cash crunch and you need the break, that'll actually bring your payment down to slightly lower than it was at the initial 5-year.
Okay. If you are up for renewal this year, when is a good time to start that process? Because it is a process.
It is a process, and you really should take the time to look into it. I highly recommend people look into it at about the 120-day mark, so about 4 months before renewal. Start looking into it, because any rate holds that you get can and will be held for 120 days. So this way, if you do get a rate, and it's held for you, and say a month later the rates suddenly drop, you'll get the lower rate, but at the very least you'll be secured at the one that you've got.
There's other tips that you have here as well about looking at your debt load, increasing your mortgage to pay off the debt. What does that mean?
So sometimes in the 5 years since you've gotten your mortgage, you might have taken out a car loan, you might have gotten a line of credit, maybe done a small renovation on your home, you might have some credit cards. As we said, life today is very expensive, so you might be leaning on credit a little bit more. So you can actually take a chance and look at the debt that you have and maybe combine it and roll it in with your mortgage. By doing that, you will potentially lower your monthly cash outflow. So it'll help you from a cash flow perspective, because instead of making a minimum payment on your line of credit, instead of making that car loan, instead of making that credit card payment, you could put it all into your mortgage and maybe only see maybe a $200 increase per month, and yet pay it all off completely.
Yeah, I think it's the conversation many people are having either with their partner or with themselves, saying, what do I need to focus on, the short term, the long term? And it might be a matter of fact that the short term is what you have to focus on right now.
And that's the thing. Like, a lot of times people get hung up on the fact that it's a 30-year amortization, and oh, I don't want to take 30 years to pay my mortgage. You actually don't have to. There are so many different ways of paying down your mortgage faster. You can look at paying every 2 weeks. You can pay every week, whatever works better for you. You can look at increasing your payments. You can do maybe 10 to 15 to 20% increase in your actual payment once you have a better financial position. You can do lump sum payments annually, and you can really drive down the amortization that way. And sometimes it's even as small as an extra $25 or $50 every 2 weeks can really drive down the amortization.
Okay, what if you're in the position, let's look at it from the outlook of there just isn't the money there anymore. So what if you cannot afford your mortgage payment with everything that's happening in the world, but also your life?
Yeah. If you are at a point where you are going to default on a mortgage payment, before it actually defaults and you skip the payment, contact your lender directly. Let them know ahead of time. They will usually work with you to see what can be done to ease things. They may give you a deferral for a month, they may give you a deferral for a couple months, but don't miss the payment and then have them call you. Reach out first. But if you are at a point, say, where you've already missed 5 or 6 payments, and you're now looking at potentially power of sale, where the lender comes in and takes control of the property, there are options for you. Your lender isn't able to offer those options, and that's where you really do need to speak to a mortgage professional, because we do have tools available to help people that are in power of sale situations.
Okay, it can be a really difficult phone call to make.
Absolutely,
But you need to make it.
But you need to make it. You really do need to make it.
Okay, Mary, thank you so much for coming in this
Thank you for having me.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.